Hi, my name is Fadia Hassan. I'm the founder of the BGreen project, and today we are here for a special episode in the BGreen Media Literacy Project, which is our TV show that is based out of AmherstMedia. We're here to talk to Ibrahim and Moises from Gardening the Community to talk about the different issues on sustainability and food security that they've been involved in the Holyoke-Springfield area for the last 12 years. So thank you so much, Ibrahim and Moises, for being here with us today.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization?
Gardening the Community is a youth-based urban agriculture program based in Springfield, Mass. We're mostly in the Mason Square area. Mm-hmm. We grow food and do a number of different programs around food justice with young people, essentially. So I'm going to introduce yourself, Moises.
My name is Moises Ramos. I'm now project leader at Gardening Community. I have been with Gardening Community for 3 years. I was introduced by my friends, and I've been very involved ever since.
Great. So before I get to the details and specific roles of each of you in the organization, I'd like to like either one of you or both of you to give me some perspectives on the history of how Gardening the Community came into being.
Gardening Community was started in 2002 it was a project under the NOFA, which is the Northeast Farming Association of Massachusetts, the NOFA branch of Massachusetts. And essentially, they wanted to do a program similar to the Food Project, which is based out of Boston, which is working with youth in a city environment, urban city environment, and starting gardens or urban agriculture in places that were formerly abandoned. So that was the initial reason why they came into Springfield. The first two people that ran the organization, the first person is Ruby Maddox. She was from Springfield and kind of got things started on a small plot of land. And it used to be that the program was only in the summertime. So they would get youth together in the spring, they would grow the food, and then the program would pretty much end. And what has happened, or what actually took place over the initial starting of the organization, was that we were in a space that was given to us, or kind of grandfathered in, where basically a real community garden essentially was how it was started, in a place that there was a building there that had some very horrible things happen to some kids. Okay. And the community got together and decided to tear the building down, and they did a community garden. So GTC started from that space. We kind of were grandfathered into that particular area on Central Street. And what happened was the city took the land back because they wanted to build houses, which is needed in Springfield. But they kind of left the organization up in the air a little bit. So another space was provided by the city further away from where we were, and then they took that space back because they thought that they would be able to develop that space. So during this particular period, they approached Mitchell Machine, which is, I think, one of the last manufacturing companies that's actually in the city of Springfield. Okay. And they had 2 plots of land that they gave us. And then the city gave us back the other space. So,
oh, it did?
Yeah. So from there, that was kind of like, that's been like the base of the foundation, these 3 sites in the Mason Square area. And we recently purchased another piece of land in Walnut Street, which I can talk about later on. But essentially, the program is based around, youth, getting youth in the Mason Square area and surrounding neighborhoods, involved in the food system work in Springfield, in addition to growing food and selling it to the people in the neighborhood.
So I'm going to come back to asking you about how you actually organize your programs a little bit more in detail eventually. But before I ask you that, I'd like to ask you, Moises, a question. Why do you think there's a need for projects like Gardening the Community in Springfield, Holyoke area? What do you think it brings to the youth, and why are you part of it?
So Gardening Community specifically brings not only like affordable food and healthy organic food to the community, but also leadership skills to the youth, which there's not a lot of. Most of our schools don't really teach us leadership skills. They fail in that aspect. But also, as well as the healthy organic foods, Garden Community, Mason Square doesn't have access to any organic healthy foods in general. There's no Big Y, there's no Stop and Shop, there's no
it's designated a food
Trader
desert.
Joe's.
It's a food desert.
Yep.
And so we there's certain areas of Springfield that it looks exactly like that, where there's no access to healthy foods. So that's why our organization is so important in Springfield.
Great. So why did you think and this is going to youth again, why do you think the youth needs healthy food? Where do you think this idea comes from? Because oftentimes when you're young, you don't have, at least when I was young, when I was your age, I wasn't thinking so deeply about food. What makes the young people in Springfield, Holyoke area need good food or want good food? Where do you think that conversation started from? Because that always interests me.
I guess...
And it's not a trick question. It's really, what do you feel about it?
It is something that we don't really talk about. Like, the youth don't really talk to each other about, like, getting healthy foods.
Exactly.
I think that's something that Garden Community introduced to me specifically about, like, understanding healthy foods and understanding how eating healthy versus eating unhealthy affects your body, and even eating organic versus food that comes from elsewhere, from other countries that gets shipped and is sprayed with these chemicals, and the effects that has on your body. That's something that it's something that was introduced to me, and therefore I was able to introduce to my friends and have that conversation with other people my age. And even when I started, I was in 9th grade. Or 8th grade, somewhere around there. And food is kind of like just not really like a topic other than like how bad school lunch is. It's not really something we really think about.
Right. Well, but, obviously you're thinking about it. Now you've become a project leader, and generally you have been working at it from 8th grade, and now you're in HCC, correct? In doing your undergrad. And so that's inspirational, and you started young, and that I think is quite inspirational for youth around the country and around the world, that you can start talking about issues of health, sustainability, and food justice from a very young age, because that's when you need good food, so that your brain develops the right way, right? So I'd like to ask this to both of you. If you could please tell us a little bit in detail what the specific programs are that Gardening the Community does, because you had said that it initially started as a summer program and then it continued to be its own yearly thing. So what are the different signature programs related to Gardening the Community?
Right. So the main program obviously is the growing of the food that we do with the youth in the community. In addition to that, once we grow the food, we have to do something with it. So we participate in the Mason Square Farmers Market, which happens every Saturday. That's run by the concerned citizens of Mason Square. We've been doing that almost since we were actually one of the founding vendors of that particular market. The other market that we do is more new. It's a mobile market. So there's a van that's run that basically goes around the city depending on the different day of the week and the different times, and it kind of sets up a little mobile market. That people used to go into the van that was, I think it was Enterprise Farm, that would kind of manage that aspect of things. So we contribute a great deal of produce to that. We also do our own kind of farm stand on Hancock Street in Mason Square, right in front of one of our gardens. That's like the other thing that we do. And then there's a CSA that we run on Wednesdays, called GTC East, that we do in conjunction with a farm out here, the next barn over in Hadley. So those are the things that we do that directly involve food. And then, kind of throughout the year, we're involved with just a lot of the food justice stuff that's happening, and we use that as a platform to develop youth leadership amongst the young people that we work with. So, depending on what's, like the last few years, like one of the things that we worked on in Springfield, particularly regarding food justice and access, was a gardening ordinance in the city of Springfield, which didn't really have any protection for people who were doing this type of gardening or urban agriculture. There was no real protection for them if they were using land that wasn't private. So we were involved with drafting the gardener ordinance, and we were a part of the early people involved with the Springfield Food Policy Council, which was, different members of GTC are still involved with that. So the gardening ordinance was one of the things that we did. There's a big movement around getting a supermarket returned to the Mason Square area. So we've been involved with that since it kind of started about 6 years ago. And then various things throughout the year that kind of highlight the sort of things and conversations that happen around food access in New England, as well as the statewide and Springfield too. So I think those are the main programs that we do. Yeah.
So what are Moises, some of the programs and projects that you have been directly involved in the last couple of years of your work with GTC?
I've been mostly involved with, of course, the growing and all that, but when we have our CSAs, I've been in charge, pretty much sort of take it upon myself to be in charge of the biking and the bike crew. We, in our CSA, we have a mile radius around that. Whoever that's part of our CSA lives in that mile radius, we will bike over to them and deliver their vegetables directly to their house. And so I help with leading the bikers and doing that.
So I'm going to be really annoying and ask you something. Explain to the audience what a CSA is, because our show is watched outside of the U.S. and oftentimes people don't know what a CSA means in the U.S. outside.
So
what is a CSA?
A CSA is community-supported agriculture, which in regular farms, usually they have it where as someone who lives in the area or whatever will come and they pay a good amount of money in the beginning of the season.
Got it.
And that whole season they'll be weekly given a certain amount of vegetables. And so with our CSA, you can do that. You can pay a good amount of money in the beginning, or you can pay weekly. So for our full share, it's $30 a week. Our half share is $20 a week. The full share feeds 3 to 5 people in a home. The half share feeds 2 to 3 people in a home.
Okay.
So we it's sort of like and it's pre-prepared packages pretty much that has a good amount of vegetables.
Got it. And so you quickly went over your role in the growing process. Can you tell us a little bit more of details of how the youth is engaged with the growing part of it as well? And oftentimes and I want both your perspectives, because how does the youth react to the idea of farming and getting dirty with the soil and all of that? And what's your perspective on it, and what's your perspective on it?
Say it again.
So, meaning, how do you see the youth reacting? Because oftentimes now, young people, it doesn't even matter if they're young or old, people are used to packaged foods. Mm-hmm. So the idea of going to a garden, cultivating the land and growing vegetables and fruits, how do you think the reactions are between the youth from your perspective who runs the organization versus you who's part of the student and the student groups and teams? What's your perspective on that?
Well, I think, there's always people who are scared of bugs.
Yeah.
Those sorts of things come up. But I think, after a while, and then, just to be real, the relationship between agriculture and particularly people of color, black people in this country, is not too pleasant. So, when you tell people you want to have them go outside and grow food, some of them, I would say the youth that are brought to the organization from other young people, so that the kids get together, they talk about GTC. They usually are very open to it because we offer a stipend, which is, I think, is really important.
So you offer a stipend to the students who are working. Fantastic.
Absolutely. And so that's for someone who's in, who would normally not be able to work anywhere, a middle school kid or someone that's just started high school. This is it's a good opportunity.
That's very impressive.
And I think that so there's that aspect of it. But I think what happens is that they they get used to it. They start to see some real benefit in what they're doing, because not only does it really, what we're offering them in terms of like the leadership skills and being kind of put in charge of things and showing that they can do that type of, have that kind of responsibility. I think they also realize that they're contributing to their community in such an important and fantastic way that, the work is work. Being outside in the summer is not easy for anyone, whether they're a young person or an adult. But I think that, the environment that we kind of have created and the realization of how much they're contributing, because when you can not only feed yourself, by bringing food home to your family, but you're doing so for, the entire community, it's a very honorable thing that I think that, and I've said that before, like I think that the kids really, the young people are really attracted to that. And so, if the program was bigger, which we hope it could be one day, I mean, it'd be something that it would be great for a lot of young people in Springfield, which we could hire more people to do it.
Great. So what's your perspective as a youth?
In the beginning of the seasons, or when I first came in the very first season, sort of like we get more of the work aspect because there's not anything growing, so you're just like weeding and watering, and it's kind of like, it's sort of like annoying at first, but then once you start getting into like towards the summer and stuff like grows and you don't realize how fast everything actually grows, it becomes like you could see your own work in what you grew, and that's different from another job where you're like, I don't know, taking money and whatever, working a register or whatever. It's not like something you feel in that kind of work. And when you're gardening, you could really feel like you accomplish something when you see plants grow beautifully, when you see you're getting tomatoes that taste better than the ones you get at the store,
Yes,
stuff
definitely.
like that. It's really why a lot of youth stay year after year, and like they would complain the first time they come, like, oh, got a weed, but they kind of get over it and it becomes nice after a while.
Right. So my question to you is, how do you train the youth? Because organic farming is complicated. Farming itself is complicated. Organic is on a different level of complicated because you actually have to know the rules of how to keep away the pests, etc. So is there like a training program for the youth that you guys organize, or how do you make it work?
Right. Well, we're not certified organic in the sense that we didn't go through the USDA and
which is expensive.
Yeah, but we don't use any pesticides. And it's funny. I mean, like there's this idea that, among other things, that pesticides and all those things are necessary for the global food system to work, and that doing the type of growing that we do could never feed the earth, never mind, a community such as ours. But what we find, I mean, like we incorporate a lot of techniques that have been tried and true in other places, and that work. You don't need to put rapid grow or whatever that stuff is. You don't really need that stuff. What you need is good water and good soil and good quality seed. And you can, in a place like this in Massachusetts, Western Massachusetts, you can do tremendous amounts of produce.
So, and do you have someone helping the youth learn how to do it, or do you usually pair them up with people who have done it before? so that you kind of learn by doing?
Right. So as the youth and program director, like it's kind of my job to make sure that aspect of the program is running well. And I learned how to grow. I mean, I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I didn't know anything about farming. So my learning was really trial and error. And luckily, 3 of the youth that came up in the program, Kamaria, Jacob, and Maybelline, really helped me learn. And then from there, I went out and did a lot of training, like all over the country, to kind of get my skills up to speed about the growing. But I would say that a lot of we basically kind of put the work of and give the young people the skills to learn how to grow food effectively. Okay.
That's great. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about your response in the farmers markets in the different locations that you sell out of? And is there a lot of interest? Are there openings for people outside of Springfield, Holyoke area to buy your produce? Is it open to everybody? Or, can you tell us some more about the commercial aspects of it?
Sure. Our farmers market, not only are there vendors there's vendors from outside of the city as well as inside the city. There's a lot of people that the farmers market is mostly people within the community.
Okay.
Our CSA, there are several people who hear about us, or we travel and talk about it, and people come from other places and buy shares in our CSA. But a lot of what we do is is to help our community, so we focus mostly on our community.
Yeah. So in addition to making sure that the stuff that we grow and the stuff that we bring in through our partnerships is sold in Mason Square area, we also do it at a price that is really hard to beat in terms of what you would find in a store.
That's great.
And what you would find probably in other farmers markets around Western Mass too.
And we've learned recently, our CSA, if you take the vegetables you get in a share, you would actually be paying more for those vegetables at a grocery store than you would on our share and those vegetables wouldn't necessarily be organic. Right. Ours are natural, organic, no pesticides, and they're cheaper than you'd get at a grocery store.
That's really great. So do you sell only in the summertime then, in the farmers market?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, that's
great.
But
we're doing things now to kind of extend into the
winter, right? Because there are indoor farmers markets around as well that perhaps in the future, since you've gone from a summer program into a year-long program, maybe that's the next step, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and because that would be really wonderful. And one of the, I'm glad that we spoke about the organic certification a little bit, because it's so expensive that a lot of people assume that only ones with a seal are organic, while I've spoken to various farms in the area who are not certified organic. However, they do not use any pesticides.
Yeah, and more importantly, they're local.
They're local.
Which is really the better way to eat, is try to be as local as you can. And what's more local than your own neighborhood?
Exactly. And so tell me a little bit about what the future directions are when you say that you're hoping that it'll get bigger and better, even more than it has already. When you say that, what would you like to see Gardening the Community be doing in 5 years' time, from a youth leader perspective and a person who's the director, project director, your perspective?
Well, 5 or 10 years from now, hopefully I won't be the director anymore. It'll be someone else, maybe Moises, maybe someone else. But initially, while I'm here, I would like to definitely see our Walnut Street site become somewhat of a hub for urban agriculture in Springfield. And particularly, I would like to see it be seen as a place for young people to be given opportunities to be leaders in their community. I think if I can walk away from this whenever I do and know that that's what's happening, and that it's happening to a rate that even I can't even foresee right now, that would be the best thing that could happen. But kind of the initial goals, 1 to 2 year, 3 year, is to really see not only the East, all the things that we're doing kind of expand. Okay. When I say grow, it's not like a Microsoft type of grow or
Absolutely.
Apple grow, but definitely more young people involved, more families being impacted, having local access to local food, and just seeing the impact in terms of how it kind of mushrooms from the young people. And you can add what with it.
Well, I would like to see because 5 years is sometimes may seem like a long time away, but it's really
not.
It's really not. So I could see us growing to a point where, like he said, where our new land is sort of like the center for urban agriculture, where we could hold workshops and teach other people, and that could help us with our own sustainability, within our organization, to be able to operate without grants.
Yeah.
That'd be very important for us and would be huge. Within 10 years, I hope that we could grow so much that we can
perhaps even start supplying to supermarkets in the local area, which some of the organic farms have been doing. Enterprise, which is one of the prominent organic farms in Waitley area, they now supply to Whole Foods in the area. So imagine if a youth-led organization from an urban location in Western Massachusetts could be doing the same thing, right?
Well, we've sold stuff to River Valley Market.
Oh, you have?
Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
They're like a great partner in the stuff that we do. In a lot of different ways, but I think with us, I mean, if it ever comes to a point where there is a local kind of access for local vegetables in the Mason Square, maybe we move on to another area. Maybe we do service that grocery store, or whatever. But I think we thought about, we think about this every year. Should we pursue trying to get to Amherst or trying to get into other, and I think like Moises said, I think the focus has to be on Springfield.
Absolutely, because that was the target.
Yeah, and the need is there because there's
there
no
are enough
access.
Farmers markets in. I mean, not that we don't want to in Amherst, Northampton, but the goal of we have it.
Yeah, you already
the
have
food desert exists somewhere else, and that should be the key.
I would like to see personally. Say if there was a branch off of GTC. I live in the north end of Springfield, which is largely Hispanic. There are community gardens. I would like to see a branch of GTC over there and really get involved, because that's also a food desert. There's one little family kind of sort of grocery store, but there's not really any access to healthy foods or anything like that. So that'd be something I would like to see.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here on our show. I mean, it was really, truly, I think a lot of people don't know about your project, and the hope was through this episode that people understand that there's a lot of work, important work that's been going on for years in the Springfield area, and inspiring other youth like you are inspiring other youth, and projects like yours is inspiring and hopefully asking other people to come and help you join the conversation about finding solutions for the food issues and food challenges that Springfield Holyoke area is grappling with for the last few decades, perhaps. So thank you.
Yeah. Can I plug the website?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Please do.
Please, look us up, because we have a lot of volunteer days and a lot of opportunities to get involved. It's www.gardeningthecommunity.org.
Great. And our website and AmherstMedia.org and the BGreenProject.org will have all the details about gardening the community as well, with the contact person, along with information on Moises as well as Ibrahim, so that anyone who wants to follow up on the work that they do, or in general get involved with the BGreen Project. You can find everything on either AmherstMedia.org or BGreenProject.org. So thank you so much for being with us this week, and see you next week for another great show.